Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so if you're thinking about stepping onto the dance floor for the very first time, you've probably hit a wall of choices. Today, we're going to completely demystify two of the absolute most popular styles out there, salsa and cha-cha. Drawing on some fantastic insights from ballroom dance expert Vladislav Knight, we'll break down the exact differences so you can confidently choose your very first dance. We're going to look closely at the rhythms, the mechanics, and the whole feel of both. Let's get into it. Okay, let's dive into this. Think of this as our dance class syllabus. We're going to do a highly structured, point-by-point breakdown covering the Latin dance dilemma, finding the rhythm, footwork and movement feel, partner connection and styling, and finally, choosing your first dance.
All right, part one, the Latin dance dilemma.
You know, people hear Latin dance and just assume it's all basically the exact same thing. Just shake your hips and step to the beat, right? Well, actually, wrong. Latin dance is really just a giant umbrella term, and grouping styles like salsa and cha-cha together is honestly an illusion. It completely masks their radically different timing and movement patterns. The absolute fastest way to improve as a beginner is to shatter that illusion right now and learn what makes each dance totally distinct.
The single distinction influences absolutely everything else we're going to talk about today. Literally from your steps to your styling, salsa typically follows this broader, much more syncopated groove. It just flows, you know? Cha-cha, on the other hand, is known for its repeating, segmented, and highly playful rhythm. If you can wrap your head around this core difference right now, you're already halfway there.
Moving on to section 2, finding the rhythm.
Let's start with the math and feel of salsa music. It has a strong emphasis on what we call clave-like phrasing. This is typically an 8-count structure. What makes it kind of tricky, but honestly incredibly beautiful, is that your weight changes might feel slightly behind or exactly on the beat, depending on the specific style of salsa you're doing. So you can't just wait for an obvious cymbal crash to tell you what to do. You have to truly internalize the groove and feel those subtle accent placements within the layers of the music.
Cha-cha, by contrast, gives you this massive auditory clue. It is strongly associated with a clear rhythmic unit that dancers universally count as a punchy 1, 2, 3, cha-cha, right? When you hear that, you almost physically embody it. That count creates a very distinct 2-beat feel right at the end of the phrase before the whole pattern just repeats itself. It's snappy, it's crisp, and it tells you exactly when your feet need to hit the floor.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how it creates an immediate psychological difference for a beginner. In salsa, like we said, you have to internalize the groove. You kind of become part of the music's undercurrent. But in cha-cha, the rhythm practically announces the next step for you. It's literally shouting out instructions. Because of this, a lot of beginners actually find cha-cha much easier to recognize musically when they're first training their ears.
All right, section 3, footwork and movement feel. Let's translate those musical counts into actual body movement on the floor. Because of that 8-count clave, salsa footwork travels continuously through the pattern. The steps feel flowing and elastic, especially when you start throwing turns in there. Cha-cha footwork, however, is a stark juxtaposition. It is staccato and bouncy. The signature action relies on a quick preparation, followed by that clear, definitive cha-cha moment. That's exactly what gives the dance its famous characteristic bounce.
Okay, let's give your brain a quick rest with a bottom-line summary here. If you want to cement how these physical mechanics translate into a general feeling, just remember this simple equation. Salsa equals momentum. Cha-cha equals step-by-step. It's a wonderfully straightforward way to remember how your body is meant to operate in each style.
Which brings us to section 4, partner connection and styling.
So how does all this work when you actually connect with another human being? Well, this brilliantly illustrates where styling cues completely diverge. Both are lead and follow dances, obviously. But in salsa, the lead guides the movement through a steady groove. It highlights a controlled torso and smooth weight shifts to keep everything consistent across turns. Cha-cha leans heavily into distinct physical accents. You're going to see a much more pronounced rhythm echoing directly in the hips and the shoulders.
And here's a cool bonus for cha-cha. Because the dance repeatedly lands on that highly recognizable accent we just talked about, it provides partners with frequent physical checkpoints. If you or your partner gets slightly off time, which, let's be real, happens a lot when you're learning, that snappy cha-cha bounce is a recurring, shared moment where you can instantly sync back up. It's kind of like a built-in safety net for your connection.
All right, our final section, choosing your first dance.
Let's turn all this technical stuff into highly actionable advice. If you walk into a salsa class, the environment focuses heavily on groove and control.
You'll spend a lot of time learning to hold your timing across changing figures and maintaining a steady feel so your steps don't drift. So, if you want to master a broader, continuous groove and you love the idea of flowing elasticity, this is absolutely for you. Contrast that with the cha-cha classroom environment. Here, the focus shifts directly to rhythm recognition and very repeatable step patterns. If you're someone who struggles with counting to the music, the predictable structure of cha-cha is an incredibly helpful entry point. It gives you a strict framework to rely on while you build up your confidence.
So with all that laid out in front of you, what does this all mean? Which dance should you start with?
Here's a quick cheat sheet for you. To summarize everything we've covered today, from the flowing, momentum-driven vibe of salsa to the playful, staccato bounce of cha-cha. Well, the crucial point is this. You don't actually have to choose just one forever. As Vladislav Knait points out, a whole lot of dancers eventually end up learning both. Cha-cha is an amazing tool to sharpen your rhythmic control, while salsa is just unparalleled for building partner versatility and momentum. They actually complement each other beautifully over time.
But, you do have to start somewhere, so I'll leave you with this. Will you build your foundation on continuous, flowing momentum or conquer the staccato bounce of rhythmic control first? The choice is completely yours, and the dance floor is waiting. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, happy dancing.